Squirrel Shuriken. Today, we review The Way of the Ninja. Ninja disappear. Kakuranger. Appearance Jutsu. Perfect. Hello and welcome to KamenRider Blackman, and today we will finally be reviewing Ninja Sentai Kakuranger Ninja. Okay, I'm done. I'm kidding. Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. Finally, our first ninja-themed Sentai. Ooh, I almost feel bad that I reviewed Hurricaneger first. This show is so... I have a new appreciation for this show now, since this is my second time rewatching it. My first time was back in high school, freshman year, and I binged this my whole spring break. But I don't think I finished the show then because the last few episodes weren't subbed. But man, rewatching it now, I appreciate almost everything a lot more. But not just that, considering where we are now with Sentai, it's nice that story matters more than selling the toys. Because look at King Oger, honestly. Like, it wasn't about selling the toys, like, at all, or the gimmicks, or the Shugat stuff. It's like, it focused all on the story, and from there, you appreciated everything more. The characters, the villains, certain aspects, like maybe the toys, some gimmicks that they had. And in this show, yeah, it's all here. Like, you appreciate everything, from the characters to the villains to the themes. And I love that. I like it when story matters more than trying to sell a product. And let's get into the show now, because I'm talking about how much I admire the show, but I'm not even getting into detail. So let's start now, starting with the opening. What in the world was that? Da, da, da. I love this opening. Kakuranger ninja. It's a good opening. It makes me jam out so much. I wish I was playing it right now on my phone, but I already did that in the opening. But yeah, this opening, Secret Kakuranger, it's a good song. Matter of fact, it's a really good song. It's 31 years old, and it still holds up. Honestly, play it at a party, people will enjoy it. Even the ending theme, too. It's a fun little dance, mellow out song. It's awesome. Play this in a party, too, and it'll be great. Oh my god. The music grabs my mind so much. And so, let's get into the first episode. Episode 1, We Are Ninja. We open to a storyteller telling a story in the form of Rakugo. For anyone who's unfamiliar with forms of Japanese entertainment, Rakugo is a form of stand-up comedy in Japan where the performer sits on a raised platform called a koza and tells funny stories with a paper fan and a small cloth. And this style of entertainment dates back to the Heian period. Now, the first half of the show is rather comedy-focused, but it's also historical too, which plays a big theme, amongst other things, in this show. Because the monsters for this show are yokai, monsters of Japanese folklore, and the announcer, and eventually the monsters themselves, tell their backstories for which one's the monster of the week. And the announcer at least does it in the form of Rakugo. Hell, the actor they even got to be the announcer was an actual Arakugoda. And so now, back to the first episode, The announcer is telling a story dating back to the Sengoku era. Five ninjas of fiction. It's so out there that this show made these characters of Japanese folklore real and giving them descendants. That's the word. That would be like if Sun Wukong was Goku's great ancestor. And so, five great ninjas known in fiction: Sasuke Sarutabi, Saizo Kirigakuru, Sekai Miyoshi, and Jiraiya work together with Tsuruhime to seal away the yokai. And so, years later, in 1994, we shift the focus to Sasuke and Saizo's descendants, who also share their names. I want to think their families knew of their ninja heritage. Heritage. I can't pronounce that word. Anyway, I want to think their families knew of their ninja heritage. Hey, now I can say it. Hence why they're named after their ancestors, and their personal lives are like Shinkenger, just waiting for the next yokai wave. But, spoiler alert, considering how 2 out of 5 of the Sentai were remotely aware and prepared, that doesn't seem like the case. But back to Sasuke and Saizo. It's been a long time since I've seen the first episode, because the first episode is crazier than I remembered. Sasuke and Saizo first see a guy accosted by punks and end up running a bag of money for him to an island. And then the craziness begins with them being hunted by future soon-to-be yokai. What happens next even makes me feel sad for him, because they weren't being stingy or greedy or anything. They were just doing a favor. But what happens is they're running for their lives, and they get cornered. And they got cornered into the door seals that, if opened, would free the yokai and restore their powers.
But here's my question. Who thought rigging a step to open the door was a good idea for security? Anyone could tip that off. And mind you, they would have bailed if they hadn't been accosted. So you know what? They have my sympathy. But they now need to be ninjas and make up for what they did. The next big thing that happens is the Phantom Castle comes up from the ground, and the next Kakuranger appears, Tsuruhime, to tell them they need to get their swords.
They get their swords, and their ancestors appear before them to give them their Doron Changers. So now we have 3 out of 5 Kakurangers. I'm not going to talk about their suits just yet. I'm going to wait until we get all 5 Rangers. Same for the mech, because we see it in the first episode scare off the first monster of the week. Just to get back to my theory, Muteki Shogun arriving to save them does refute my point about Sasuke and Saizo not aware of any of this, because they do not do that great at first. And so, episode 2, the next Kakuranger recruited is Sekai, and aside from that, Sasuke is pulled away from most of the episode to learn a new ninjutsu technique to grow into his mech form, which we'll get to later. Is it worth mentioning how the monsters grow in this show? Because it's pretty different from others at the time. Like, thinking back to the other 2 seasons, like in Zyuranger, like Pandora threw down a staff and the monsters grew that way. I forgot how the monsters grew in Vyram, but I remember in Live Man, someone fired a laser through a bazooka. In Dairanger, the monsters illegally possessed explosives and grew that way. In this show, it's just the monsters decide when they're gonna grow. They could be in the middle of a fight, and a monster would just say, "Well, fuck you, Kakurangers. I'm just gonna grow giant and beat you that way." Paraphrasing, but yeah, like, mind you, there's an external force of like negative energy that the yokai collect in order to be empowered like that. But yeah, how the monsters in this show grow is that they decide when they're gonna grow. Basically. Like, it sounds like they could do that at any time, and if it did, it would kind of be a little annoying and frustrating. But I will appreciate that they use it more as a last resort, as it should, because if a monster would be able to grow at any time, it would kind of be kind of boring, especially if they were winning. Like, why do you need a leg up when you're already doing well at normal size? Though I'm being honest, I'm probably saying that because I've been watching some early Mighty Morphin lately, and that's kind of a majority of episodes. Like, halfway through a fight, the monster's winning, beating the Rangers, and Rita just decides, make it grow, because it's not like the Megazord's going to beat it, when it will. But here, it's used better. Like, okay, I'm at a disadvantage. Now I'm gonna grow and gain into the advantage. And so, moving on. Episode 3, the last member to join is Jiraiya, who is played by action movie star Kane Kusagi very early in his career. I even bothered to look this up before the review, like trying to find some old interviews online about Kane Kusagi's time in Japan. This was very early in his career before he became a big star. And doing Kakuranger, I believe, was his first time or one of his first times going to Japan. Shoot, they had to, because he was so new to, like, I guess learning Japanese culture and even speaking the language, they coordinated a lot of his personality into Jiraiya. And shoot, as a matter of fact, this is another fun fact. Like, Kane Kusagi is the second American actor in history to be a part of a Sentai after the first Miss America from Battle Fever J. Though, here's my one question for him that I don't know to this day. Why does he dress like a cowboy when he's from Los Angeles and not Texas? I don't know. I don't know. But, anywho, Jiraiya's family moved to America after sealing away the yokai. It turns out the Jiraiya clan relocated to America to search for the 4 missing scrolls so the others can grow into mechs too. So, let's talk about the suits now that we have all 5 Rangers. I like these suits. These are my second favorite of the ninja-themed Sentai, and honestly, looking at these suits, they are what come to mind when I think of ninjas. Just that level of simplicity, all colored in, even no white on the necks, because that's colored in too. The helmets are pretty simple, but I love that too. They're very simplistic. The one thing on these suits I will critique, however, are their logos. Just not how the logo looks, but how they're all colored in. Like on Ninja Yellow, it looks the best because it's colored in yellow. And honestly, it should have been colored in yellow on the rest of them. But yeah, I like these suits. I don't mind them. They're pretty nice. And I guess while we're talking about aesthetics now, let's also talk about their weapons. Like, they have, of course, their ninja swords, their blasters, and they have individual weapons that I thought they didn't use too often. But honestly, rewatching this show, they use them every now and then, a bit more than I thought. Like, Red has a 3-pronged shuriken. Like, Blue has a water gun on his, like, mounted on his arm. Yellow has a claw, I guess. Yellow has a claw chain type of weapon, which is very ninja-esque. And Black has a wrist-mounted bow. It's like their weapons are pretty interesting. As well as, and White has that, I don't know what you call it, but yeah, their weapons are pretty different. As well as their finishers, which definitely harken back to Go Ranger, the Kakuranger Ball. And so, well, we're still on aesthetics, right? So, next thing definitely on my mind is their suits. Well, not their ranger suits, their ninja costumes that they wear every now and then. those are awesome costumes. Like, they're blacked out with scarves and belts corresponding to their ranger colors. Yes, just yes. Yes. Those are awesome suits. And I love the variety in helmets that they have. And I love seeing these suits in their transformation sequence whenever they morph. I love, they're awesome. Now, compared to Mighty Morphin, there's more of a reason why they have ninja costumes. They aren't just descended from ninjas, they also follow the way of the warrior, going on missions, practicing stealth. Could this be an alternative from morphing? Yes, but there's more gravitas here than there was in Mighty Morphin. Like, nothing in this show is just used for a motif, which is what I appreciate the most. So now, let's finally get into the mech. The Giant Beast Generals, aka the Shogun Zords. These aren't mechs that they pilot. This is the first time ever that the Sentai can become their mechs. And honestly, that's actually pretty cool. I'll never hate it when Rangers can become their own mechs. As a matter of fact, I feel like it's a matter of how it's done in the show, like keeping things dynamic as well as it fitting within the realm of the show. Like, for example, in Dawn Brothers, I didn't like it when the Rangers became their mechs because it was just introduced out of nowhere and it was just random. Dawn Brothers had like a Ready Player One theme to it, but they eventually just tossed that to the wayside over time. Here, it's ninja magic, ninjutsu. It's like they become their own mechs through literally practicing a technique. And hey, in Ninja Storm, like their sensei turned into a hawk. Here, they turn into freaking giant robots. Ninjas, they're amazing. And shoo, while we're at it, Kakuranger also starts a trend for the next 2 years of Rangers having their own individual mechs. And honestly, that's just so cool. Just having five people pilot their own robots, then having it come together to form a bigger robot. Speaking of which, of said bigger robot, Muteki Shogun makes its proper debut with everyone forming it in episode 4. And so, Muteki Shogun, once again, 5 robots coming together to form a bigger robot? That's awesome. And Muteki Shogun's not my personal favorite mech, but the design and everything, it grew on me. Like, I like looking at it, and seeing it in motion, it makes sense. But, like, I don't know, just looking at this, I don't know, it makes you think, like, if Muteki Shogun was made today, they probably would have made it to be a bit more agile, maybe. But what we got here is still fine. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure if this was foreshadowing for later or not, because when we first see Muteki Shogun, it's a sentient being, but it's also something that everyone combines into. But why, we'll learn later. But Muteki Shogun also brings up an issue I had with season 3 of Mighty Morphin, which was its mech fights. Muteki Shogun is so powerful that it kills its opponents in under 20 seconds. At that point, like, I say it's an issue for me because, and I definitely say this from watching Power Rangers, why should the monster bother growing if it's just going to get killed immediately? But at least there's a reason why, and it's because due to the suit's design, Muteki Shogun was too bulky to move around in. That's why a majority of its fights, it's jumping straight to the finisher. But thankfully, that gets alleviated in episode 12, The New Jusho Appear. It's a revival of Old Monsters episode that introduces the second set of mechs for this show, the Jusho Fighters, slimmer versions of the Giant Beast Generals that are far more agile in combat. Now, before Muteki Shogun can kill the monster, these new Zords can wear them down. And the Jusho Fighters, I really like the designs of the Giant Beast Generals and how they are, but the Jusho Fighters themselves, slimmed down, I also just really find them to be awesome. Probably because they're not as bulky as other mechs, especially individual mechs. Like, the Jusho Fighters, all of them are, I want to say, they're as less bulky as Kishiryu by himself. And shoot, for anyone who hasn't seen my Hurricanes review, which by the way, go watch it. Why not? Then then you would remember that I feel like the Jusho Fighters were the inspiration for Senpujin's Hurry Up mode. And now you can all see why. Shoot, they don't just look great, but they can also act independently of the Kakurangers too. Like, they work autonomously, and eventually the Kakurangers can join with them to pilot them. And even, like, as if this was a second form for them. They also don't combine. Like, there are times when they beat the Monster of the Week as a team individually, and that's awesome.